Today on Rescue 911, a split-second reaction. Grease and boiling water, a deadly combination.
Oh my God! My sister just got burned by hot water. Send over an ambulance.
I grabbed her and her skin peeled right off in my hand.
Plus, a pregnant woman takes a terrible fall.
Mom!
Fate lies in the hands of...
My mom just fell down the stairs.
On Rescue 911.
On the afternoon of June 17, 1993, in the small town of Hingham, Massachusetts, Amy Rabinovitz was home with her 3 young children, preparing the family's dinner. She was well aware that the kitchen could be a dangerous place, but on that day, she would pay a painful price for an innocent oversight.
I was making spaghetti sauce. Abby was a normal little 14-month-old girl, very much into Barney. Never moved away from the screen when Barney was on. I had to pour out the boiling water into the sink. The baby gate had broken 2 days beforehand, so I wanted to make sure they weren't in the kitchen. It was a matter of seconds. It was that quick, and I just couldn't stop the water from pouring. And she just caught it full face.
When we continue.
I grabbed her, and her skin peeled right off in my hand. I was just horrified. I was scared to death that I was going to lose her.
Oh my God!
I heard something fall.
5-year-old Benjamin was the oldest of the family's children.
When a baby boy or a girl is burned, sometimes they can die.
Okay.
Hingham Fire emergency line.
My sister just got burned by hot water. Send over an ambulance.
Okay, need to know where.
Yeah, Hingham Street. What? The fire station. Hot grease with water in it.
I need the address for your house.
What's the address for the house? Just peel him.
My mom put Abby in the shower and cool off the heat on her.
And it didn't work.
She was peeling bad.
Medical aid.
A basic life support unit with the Hingham Fire Department was immediately dispatched, including EMT Kevin Carner.
When we first got the call, dispatcher announced the address for a child that had been scalded by hot water and grease. I knew the address right away. I grew up with the mother of the child. So right there, the level of stress and apprehension has just increased double-fold.
I grabbed her, and her skin peeled right off in my hand. I was just horrified. I was scared to death that I was going to lose her. I couldn't have handled that. There's no way. My kids are everything to me.
Kevin and his partner, EMT Michael Antone, arrived within 3 minutes of the call.
When I first looked at the child, my worst fears were realized.
I could see that she had close to 30 to 40% of her body was burned. And that's such an insult to the body that the infections alone, you know, I feared for her life.
At one point, she just stopped crying. Dead stop. Didn't move, didn't cry, didn't do anything. I thought she had stopped breathing. I thought she just lost it completely. I thought she was gone.
I tapped her a couple of times on her bottom of her feet and kept yelling out her name, and she finally looked up to me and started crying again, wailing again, which was tough to hear, but I knew that she was breathing all right.
Because of the severity of her burns, 14-month-old Abby was transferred to Shriners Burns Institute in Boston and put under the care of Dr. Robert Sheridan.
The liquid poured down from above, and her burns were to her face, the front of her head, neck, shoulders, arms, and her whole front of her torso. About a third of her skin was gone. In many parts of the world, even today, an injury this size in a child this age is a lethal injury.
Abby's father, Stephen, went to the hospital as soon as he heard what had happened.
There's nothing that can prepare you for walking into a burn trauma unit. The first thing is the smell that hits you.
To see her like that, all bandaged up, it was somebody else's baby. It wasn't my baby. The guilt I felt was incredible.
That Sunday was Father's Day, and that was probably my worst day, is I had come home from the hospital, and I was the one sitting here by myself. The TV couldn't do anything. I just had no interest in watching it or listening to radio or anything. So I pretty much just sat there and had one little light on and cried for about 3 hours.
Dressing changes are painful episodes which happen twice a day.
I cried every time I was there for the bandage changes. And I was right there. I stayed right with her for every bandage change. Never missed one.
Although Abby underwent successful skin graft operations on her shoulder and chest, she came down with pneumonia.
Her blood count was real low, so they gave her a unit of blood, and it just turned everything around. It was like all of a sudden she was healed. It was like a rebirth. They couldn't believe how fast she healed after that.
On July 17th, 1993, just 4 weeks after the incident, Abby was released from the hospital. Her family threw a party to thank everyone who helped save her life.
Because Abigail's injuries were so severe, we didn't think she was going to make it, so to have her alive today running around the front lawn of her house is just so rewarding.
We've had some tough times, but it helped to restore a lot of our faith in humanity, to know that people do care.
Come on in. Hi. Hi. Hi, Abby.
And we always tell all the kids, call the ambulance if you need it. Don't even hesitate. That's what they're there for.
So how are things going?
Our area does not have 911, but only a month beforehand, I had programmed into my speed dial phone the fire department number.
Some of the parents find that massaging helps as well.
I still feel the guilt. And sometimes I just pick her up and I just tell her I'm sorry. I wish it hadn't happened.
Mm-hmm. Medicine helps for a little while.
Right. It takes the edge off.
Yeah.
The majority of burns that we see are cooking accidents or bathing accidents. 70% or so of the injuries that we see are from hot liquid.
Okay, come on, let's go.
I always used a baby gate. While I was in the hospital, my husband went out and bought a new one, which we use faithfully every day, all day.
Hey, look in here.
Kids are not allowed near the kitchen when there's anything cooking. Abby. Oh, she's mentally 110%. Beats up on her brother and sister again. She's wonderful. Physically, she's got a lot of plastic surgery ahead of her, a lot of corrective surgery. But with her attitude, we'll get through it.
Next.
Josh, what's wrong?
As a mother myself, I wanted to crawl through the phone and hold him and tell him that everything was going to be okay.
On the afternoon of November 30th, 1993, Pam Tarr was home alone with her 3.5-year-old son, Joshua. In her 5th month of pregnancy, Pam was excited about having a second child. But for her, the decision to do so was not without risk.
My wife has a heart condition, and after she became pregnant, they had taken her off her medication. So I was concerned about her doing laundry and stuff. I didn't really want her going up and down the stairs, just wanted her to wait till I came home, but she said she would be careful.
Joshua, what are you doing? You better not be filling that water gun up with water.
I'm not. Mom, I put my gun away. I had to put my super soaker away. Then I heard a big bang. Mom! I ran down the steps, and boom, she was laying on the floor. Mom, are you okay? She had her eyes closed, but she kept saying, "Oh, Mom, Mom."
Emergency, Calvert.
My mom just fell down the stairs.
She did? Is she awake?
Yes.
Can you put her on the phone? Is that possible?
Well,
huh?
I'm on the phone right now because Mom told me to call you guys.
Calvert County Control Center Supervisor Becky Wathen took over the call.
Hello? Yes?
I couldn't get her. She can't get on the phone.
She can't get up?
No.
She fell down the steps?
Yeah.
Okay, did she say where she hurts at?
No.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and start an ambulance, okay?
At that point, we had the address and name of the residents. We were able to start a BLS.
Medical box 305, the Chesapeake Ranch Club, the Tar residence.
Corporal Tommy Barrett, with the security company in the gated community where the family lives, also heard the report and headed to the scene.
We have approximately 300 and some roods in here, and a lot of the houses have no house numbers. So if you're not familiar with them, you can get lost in just about any road in here.
Do you know if their mommy or daddy's home?
There's Debbie and Shelly. Those are the moms.
Debbie and Shelly are the moms?
We were trying, hopefully, to get an adult who could assess the situation better and who could maybe help him and help the mother and in turn help us.
Do you know what their telephone number is?
Well, I forget what, Caitlin number. I'm gonna ask my mom.
What is your name?
Josh.
Josh?
Yeah.
How old are you, Josh?
3.5.
3.5?
Yeah.
I was surprised that he was that young, because normally a child that young wouldn't be that articulate and think enough to make a call like he did.
Okay, you're doing real good. Yeah, see if Mommy knows what Shelly or Debbie's phone number is, okay?
Yeah, all right.
Okay.
She asked me if I knew the phone numbers, and I didn't remember their phone numbers. So I ran steps to my mom. Mom, what's Shelly's phone number? What's Shelly's phone number? Mama, what do you mean?
Josh, what's wrong? She's still laying down? Would she talk to you?
I wasn't sure what it was that had upset him so much, but as a mother myself, I wanted to crawl through the phone and just sit there and hold him and comfort him and tell him that everything was going to be okay.
Okay, you all right now? Take a couple of big deep breaths, okay? Can you do that?
Yeah.
Okay, you're all calm down now?
Yeah. I thought my mom's gonna die. That's why I was crying. That's why she told me 2 deep breaths. That made me stop crying.
She's what? She's bleeding? She's sleeping?
Yeah.
And you couldn't get Mommy to wake up? She might be uncomfortable.
That meant the call was more serious than we had originally thought. I hoped everything was going to be okay, but at that point we didn't know for sure.
Okay, you're doing real good, okay? Okay. I want you to try to calm down a little bit. Take some more deep breaths, okay? Hey, that helps, doesn't it? Yeah, that makes you feel better. But we got someone to come and help me, Mommy, okay?
Neighbor Debbie Davis, a registered nurse, had just gotten home.
And I saw the security jeep pull into Pam's driveway. I immediately got scared because she had told me that over the weekend she had passed out. So that was the first thing that came into my mind, something that had happened to Pam.
Hey, can you see outside from where you are?
Yeah.
Okay, see if you see a man out front. There's supposed to be a man there. There is someone in the house now.
I heard voices in the background and knew that the officer was there. But I wanted to be there with him to let him know how good a job he had done.
Pam?
Miss Starr?
Pam, can you hear me? I could tell that she was breathing, but she wasn't responding at all.
Pam? Pam? Pam, are you okay?
The security guard took the phone from me, and then I had to go to my neighbor Shelly's house. And we looked out the window, didn't see the ambulance or my mom. Neither one of them. Or my dad. None of them.
She's got a pulse and she's breathing.
Knowing that she had a cardiac history, I was worried about the baby and whether or not the baby was getting enough oxygen and blood and everything, but of course I had no way to check that.
Pam was flown by Maryland State Police helicopter to the neonatal intensive care unit of Prince George's Hospital Center, where trauma physician Saeed Daei took over her care.
The most likely cause of her fainting was lack of circulation to the brain because of her history of heart problems.
Okay, Pat. Plug that sonogram machine, please.
Not only we're examining her condition, also we're monitoring and checking the baby heartbeats. I see the baby moving. The sonogram showed that though there is some evidence of slowness, there is no immediate danger, and this is a transient process that went away fast.
Okay,
to prevent future problems, Pam was put back on her heart medication.
No bleeding behind it.
During the days Pam spent in the hospital, Joshua was a frequent visitor.
I feel so happy to see my mom. I ran to her and then I gave her a great big hug. You have to.
He ran right up with a huge smile on his face, just so proud of himself, and he just said, "I saved your life, Mommy. I'm your hero." I just smiled and said, "Of course you are, and you saved Mommy and probably your baby brother."
To look inside your belly.
And that's when he found out it was going to be a boy.
8-pound, 2-ounce Jacob Tarr was born 16 weeks after the incident. A completely healthy baby.
Joshua came through when there was no other person to rely on. Makes me look at him as a little boy and not a baby anymore. It's obvious that he's growing up.
We proudly present this award in recognition of outstanding service to Joshua Tarr as our Hero of the Year for 1993 and 1994.
I'm gonna get the Hero of the Year awards.
There you go, young man. Good job.
I knew I was a hero because I called 911 and saved my mommy's life.
How big's Jacob? So big.
Yeah, I'm happy to be a big brother because I get to help my mom. Baby. I'm going to have to teach him a lot of things before he grows up. Like, let me see here, like no hitting and no pushing. And only call 911 when they are in an emergency. Baby on the